I'm Kelly Rivard, and I am the SEO strategist for Hallmark.com. Been a really interesting last 11 months of my career, but just to kind of give you a rundown of me, passionately user first. I like to joke that I'm 4 feet 10 inches of enthusiasm, and most of that gets funneled into what is best for our customers. I've run the spectrum of digital communication roles, content, SEO, social, and I've really kind of settled into this creative analytical blend of SEO that we have going on at Hallmark right now. Up until I came to Hallmark, I was an agency hack, so still trying to get used to the client side of things, but it's been fantastic. I absolutely advocate for anyone that's looking for a change to try client if you're in the agency world. Amazing learning experience. But one of the biggest things that I want to point out, and really the reason I'm here, is I'm just one of dozens of people that touch Hallmark SEO on any given day. And I'm fortunate enough to get to work with a lot of very talented individuals, but most of them didn't even realize how they could fit into the SEO ecosystem until I kind of showed up and rattled things a little bit. So we're a 106-year-old company, and really just in the last 5 years, we've become an e-commerce company. Up until, I want to say, 2011, we had virtually no SKUs on the site. We had some print-on-demand capabilities, so you have a party coming up and you want to custom design invitations or send out your photo Christmas cards. We had those. We sometimes sold party plates with NFL teams on them. But it's nothing compared to the site we've come to know and love now. So when Hallmark decided that they wanted to really come up to current day with SEO, they had no idea what they needed, but they knew that they were pushing towards an omni-channel approach to retail. I think all of us, as we were negotiating what the start of my career at Hallmark would look like, understood that we had no idea what we were doing. We were really figuring things out as we went, which was both terrifying and exciting, especially for myself, just taking this big dive out of my agency life. We knew we would have to work hard. We knew it would be challenging. We also knew that we would get to do some really, really cool things. Very few companies get to really reinvent themselves the way Hallmark has been trying to do in the last couple of years. I mean, rooted in ink and paper for over 100 years, it's really difficult to make big pivots with such a large organization. And really just exponentially, our growth in the last few years in the digital space has been massive. Absolutely inspiring to be a part of it. What we didn't know, though, is 6 months after I got in, we would need to sort of regroup ourselves and completely reassess how we were approaching SEO. So this was us 5 years ago. We had print-on-demand cards and e-cards, a little bit of party supplies. 1 year ago, we had, I want to say, 5,000 SKUs on the site total. So pretty decent offering, but it was very much heavily niche. We knew what we wanted to sell on Hallmark. We knew exactly the kind of audience we thought we were getting. The problem is the audience is a dwindling audience. Keepsake anyone familiar with keepsake ornaments? Awesome, I like to say, well, of course Lori is. So we had keepsake collectors, very passionate Hallmark cards users. Our cards are for when you care enough to send the very best. So very, very small audience that was very loyal to us, but we weren't growing enough. So in the last year, we have increased our volume to around 10,000 SKUs in total. I think we're actually going to surpass that by quite a bit by the end of the year as we get through this holiday rush. Products, gifts, cards, ornaments, we've diversified significantly. We've grown massively in the home decor space, which has kind of become an area that I'm very passionate about. As we've learned, just because there's such a fascinating dynamic and so many different sub-audiences that you can tap into there. So how did we do this? How did we revolutionize the way we're treating omni-channel using SEO just by essentially bringing in one person? Well, honestly, the foundation was laid long before they hired me. There are a few key players that were very passionate about it, many of them in our UX UI team, some of them in the digital marketing organization that I fall under, which surprisingly is part of retail. I'm not a marketing employee for Hallmark. We've still got some silos that we're breaking down because of just the way the organization has evolved. We were never meant to be digital. But when I was brought in, it was one search strategist. I managed site search and SEO. We had a little bit of teamwork. We had my knowledge, but we didn't have intelligence, and we didn't really have an organization set up for SEO success. We made quick pivots though. In less than 6 months, we were approved for tools budget. That's where BrightEdge came in. And actually, huge shout out to the professional services team, because when I was a one-man SEO shop and I was drowning, they came in and saved me. The amount of work that they did to help get us actually on the up and up and understanding at least where our keyword research needed to start was just fantastic. So can't thank you guys enough for that. But then we were also given space for substantial increases in staffing. We had an unexpected reset button though. 6 months into my almost year at Hallmark, my hiring manager accepted a new opportunity. And in those first 6 months, we were so incredibly hell-bent on just surviving and trying to figure out what we needed to do that we never actually took time to figure out what we needed to do. We were living from one page of optimization to the next, one meeting about keyword strategy to the next, really just barely keeping our heads above water. And then my current supervisor, who's in the room today and is absolutely fantastic, and I'm not just brown-nosing, joined the organization and actually forced us to sort of take a breath and recollect ourselves and reassess how we were doing pretty much everything in regards to my section of the organization. That even included restructuring the way we use BrightEdge. So I have an amazing analyst that's now on the team. He's actually today reorganizing keywords because we've really taken the time to reassess how we're structuring this stuff. So while we had great talent before, we were so stuck in the everyday that we never stopped to reassess where we were going. And now we try and do that on a more regular cadence. So this was our org team to start off with. After the approved budget increases for staffing, this is what we look like now. So Jeff, my senior manager, has myself, my analyst Brian, a digital marketing strategist who actually took site search away from me and is now helping us sort of bridge the gap between site search, SEO, PPC, email, the languages that people are using to actually understand our brand and find us once they've touched us on another channel. And then our e-business editor, who is essentially just an SEO copywriting fiend. Like, she is my right-hand woman. We're in the trenches together really heavily. And in the last few months, the SEO team has actually adopted PPC from a different division of Hallmark. So we're creating parity across those different strategies, and it's been a huge undertaking, but honestly, it's been what we needed to kind of go from that foundational stage to possibly step into scaling that Brad was discussing earlier. We haven't made it yet, though. Full transparency, we do a lot of things wrong, and we know it. And we talk about it constantly. There were even, in master's training yesterday, moments when Jeff looked at me and was like, why aren't we doing this? And I was kind of like, I don't have a good reason. Probably because we're so busy just trying to figure things out. We still assess everything. We have barely any workflows, barely any processes. We're getting there. Every single day we get a little bit closer to the paradigm shift we need to be seeing. We're also still building trust and transparency. So one of the issues we run into with Hallmark every single day, and I mentioned this earlier, is silos. We have built up in a very niche space where we have key areas of incubation that happen throughout the organization. We have a unique team for greetings, and even though they overlap with what we sell on the site and market, they still have their own marketing division. We have a creative content team that essentially curates a blog that's very content heavy, but maybe doesn't integrate our product as well as it could. We have a PR team that does all of our influencer and partnership outreach, but does very little to loop it back in. So one of the biggest battles that Jeff, Marley, Brian, Tammy, myself face on a daily basis is breaking down these walls and getting other people just as excited about these partnerships as we are. Now, I have a lot of enthusiasm, but I can't make anyone do anything they don't want to do. So that's probably the biggest ongoing battle we have, but I think it's also one where we've seen the most headway over the years. And we're still seeking answers. If I had a dime for every time Jeff and I sat in a meeting, looked at code and said, why is this built this way? It's tough. We have a lot of technical debt. There are server level issues that can't accommodate new technologies. Our security systems through which we have to pass new technology like BrightEdge is ridiculous. I started trying to get BrightEdge in-house, I think month 2. We didn't actually get it up and going until April of this year, I want to say. And And I'm looking at Lori because that's when she would have been onboarding onto our account. So it took almost 6 months for us to go from we want BrightEdge all the way up through we're fully functional in BrightEdge and we're using DataCube on a daily basis. And we have Story Builder set up to send dashboards out. So things like that outside of our control, we're trying to understand why we don't always have a solution. But it's definitely been one of the coolest adventures, is seeing this company that does have so many broken things from a long forgotten past, really taking it to the current day. However, that said, we're never going to be comfortable. We're never going to be perfect. We're always going to be a little bit on the edge because you can never stop learning. You can never stop growing. And ultimately, Hallmark is one of those companies that if they don't keep up with their roots still being in ink and paper, they could become obsolete. They could be one of those disappearing high-level companies that they discussed in the keynote today. And we don't want to do that. Obviously, we want to keep diversifying. We want to keep creating new opportunities that we haven't previously been tapping into. And SEO is honestly our best space to be doing that from a content standpoint, from a how we're reaching different consumer standpoint, and even just getting everyone within our own organization on the same page about how we do that. So, long way to go. I don't know when I'll actually have time to take a breath, but I'm going on my honeymoon next year, so hopefully we're in a better place by then. The key takeaways, though, are really twofold. You need the right people, and you need to give them the right resources. And honestly, processors are going to be a big part of that, but for us, it came down to how can we use the people we already have that already understand at least a foundational level of SEO to really build up where we're currently at, and then institute new talent to really give that the jump. When I came in, there were already people discussing SEO. They had no idea how to institutionalize it. And we're still far from institutionalizing it. I want to stress that. We're a very long way from actually having a company-wide SEO strategy. Hallmark.com is really the only place we're actively doing this. That said, the blend of old talent that knows the institution, its struggles, its opportunities, and then these new hyper-enthusiastic people that are still getting their feet wet, like myself, like Jeff, we've really been able to form a really good dynamic of, what if? Wait, no, we can't, but we can meet in the middle, make some progress. Then trust them in the weeds. That's one of the hardest things for, I think, some of these really well-structured corporations like Hallmark. There's a lot of overhead, there's a lot of red tape. And what's hard is because we are so fragmented across different parts of the business, there are so many stakeholders that are so passionate about what they own that it's hard for them to let go. I think I spend probably more time building relationships and trust than I actually do building strategy. And that's just because we need someone in the organization that cares and can nurture it like a baby and hold people's hands and let them know, like, this is going to be okay, we're all on the same team, and we're moving towards something amazing. Just trust us. Give them their resources, though. BrightEdge has completely revolutionized the way we're able to do SEO. I'm not sure what I would have done with myself if we had never gotten it. I'm not sure I would have stayed at Hallmark because there was no way I could rationally even come close to processing that amount of information. And then we brought in an analyst, and he spends all day, every day in our data using Adobe Analytics, BrightEdge, Search Console, all of these different tools, now AdWords, to essentially answer these questions that we haven't even had time to dig into until now because we really have just been getting the foundation laid. Continuing education opportunities, this is important because my first 6 months at Hallmark, I was the only person whose full-time job was to think about SEO, and I was on an island. I was alone. My BrightEdge calls were really the only communication I had with the outside world about what was going on in the industry, so I came to rely on my vendors very heavily. Coming to BrightEdge conference, this is really my refresher for the year. So make sure that there is some of that budget laid if you are looking at bringing people in that you hadn't previously had. Quality support staff, good writers, good IT, good developers. My developers can rally faster than I can even explain to you. We have an errant meta tag, we got a robots.txt file that ends up getting pushed inappropriately. We make stuff happen fast to have those fixes. Ultimately, I can tell everyone what we need to do, but if I don't have the people to help me do it, it doesn't matter. And then strong, conscientious, and perceptive management. I say this because Jeff, my soup is amazing, his soup is amazing. We ladder up through people that understand the idea of SEO, but maybe don't understand the nuts and bolts so much, but they're learning to trust us and really let us run with it. That said, we wouldn't be able to do any of what we've done over the last year without having that management that supported us and kind of went on this journey with us while still giving us space to either screw up or learn or grow or experiment. We're starting to build more of a testing culture, which is really exciting, and we wouldn't be able to do that if it weren't for upper management trusting us to maybe try something that might fail on the site. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lori. Thank you so much.